Hello folks, this is the Andy Social Podcast. My name is Andy Dowling and this week's guest is with Jake Weber. Now Jake, I've known for years. He's a bit of a legend in my eyes. Isn't that nice? Jake has been around the traps for quite a bit. He's a great guitarist. He plays in the Melbourne thrash metal band Harlott. For anyone that's been listening long term, you would know that I had Andrew Hudson, the frontman for Harlott, on episode 20-something of the podcast, maybe 22, something like that. Anyway, you can scroll back and have a listen to that. Really, really cool. If you love metal, if you love thrash metal in particular, Harlott is top tier, world class. They're on Metal Blade Records. They're doing great things, lots of great tours and heaps of stuff coming up in the months and no doubt years ahead. Jake also recently got endorsed by Jackson Guitars, which, you know, I'm an ESP guy. Endorsed by ESP Guitars, so I can't completely be happy about this, but congratulations all the same, Jake. It is a good achievement, so well done. And, you know, those guitars are pretty good when it comes to thrash metal, so it sort of fits in with their look, but you know what, get ESP instead. Yeah, much better. Anyway, in addition to that, Jake is one busy guy. He and his wife, Lizzie, have, well, at the time of putting out this episode, I'm not sure yet, but they have been slogging their guts out trying to get a new business up and running. They have a business called Bettie's Cafe, which is about to or has just opened in the inner suburb of Northcote in Melbourne. Just a little cafe where they're hoping to expand that and make it bigger and better in the years to come. But, you know, they're one of these people that want to create their own lifestyle. They want to create their own income and their own business. And this episode is really, really cool. For anyone that has known me for a while knows that I take a really particular interest in self-employment and small businesses. And I was really, really keen to chat to Jake and learn a little bit about, I guess, some of the non-glamorous aspects of getting this up and running and, you know, making the decisions to take that big step and facing some of the fears and the worries about taking the plunge into something that is, you know, it has a level of risk. But as we all know, as the world changes, job security is a little bit of a thing of the past and it's a bit of a myth these days in some circles. So I think there's never been a better time to really get out there and start something. Create your own business, be a freelancer, be, you know, a sole trader, or be a business owner, or whatever it might be. But create something on your own and fuel your own lifestyle. And so this is a really, really great episode that highlights a lot of that. So I spent a lot of time talking about this. So I talk a bit about Harlott as well, but this is a business themed podcast, and I really want you guys to, especially if you live in Melbourne and around those inner suburbs of Melbourne, to go and pop in the Betties, check out what they do, and have a sample of their coffee and be a part of their journey, because they're doing some really, really cool things. So, all right, I ramble and I ramble and I ramble. Everything's going to be over in the show notes at andysocial.net, so you can reach out to Jake. You can reach out to the both of them, Lizzie and Jake, over at Bettie's Cafe. You can check out Harlott. You can check out the old episode that I did with Andrew from Harlott from probably 18 months ago, probably longer. And everything will be over there, andysocial.net. Enough. I say that word way too many times. Please enjoy this episode with Jake Weber of Harlott and Bettie's Cafe. So we can just keep it close to our mouths like this.
Like Richie Benno.
Like Richie Benno. How you doing?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really good. What's the name of this bar again?
Thornbury Local.
This is cool. We're the only people here. It just opened.
It's the way we like it. I think they cleaned out because they knew we were coming.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, everybody else get out. No, thank you very much for the beer.
Pleasure. Here's to you.
Cheers. Oh, hang on. Let's... The sound effects. Oh, so good. So, it might be preemptive, but congrats on the new business.
Thanks, man. We're getting very close.
A few weeks off, hopefully.
Hopefully within a month.
So
fingers crossed.
You were telling me before, sort of the final hurdles or challenges are permits and sort of some of the council regulations.
Yep, everything is kind of in a holding pattern, I guess is the word for the term I've been using.
Yep.
Our baristas, wait staff, suppliers, all those kind of things are just kind of waiting on our say-so, I guess.
Yep.
I'm hoping that I'll be able to resign from my job, I should say, that final leap. Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. Don't worry, this
Whenever-
podcast
whenever
isn't
this
coming
goes,
out now.
yeah, to air, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, then it will just be waiting on the council's say-so, which I think will be fine. It's strange not knowing, considering how much money we've already spent, but you've got to do it. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's hard. It's easy to not be optimistic, I guess. It's easy to just go to worst case scenario, but somehow both Eliza, my wife, and I have been crazy optimistic through all this, which is, there's been no tears, no, major meltdowns or fights just yet, which is kind of unlike us, I guess, but we're really shoot from the hip, where even though we've got a little girl who's 5 this month, we're both still really carefree, I guess, if that's the term. We'll be like, let's save up in 3 months and move back to Melbourne real quick without any job plans or, or just because, so we're still sporadic, I guess. The idea came up and we've run with it and everything's fallen into place so far.
I mean, just watching the sequence of events over the last few months with yourself and just seeing little snippets here and there between you working a job that, you seem to be doing a lot of sort of weekend work and sort of later shift work.
Yep.
You play in a band as well, and that's only probably going to get busier. Family, a child, and...
It's all coming back to me now.
Yeah, so sorry. This is your breaking point now. I'm just like... and trying to launch a business, and more or less from scratch. To be optimistic is pretty
it's
crazy.
Been, as I was saying earlier as well, we've only been back in Melbourne 12 months last week, I think it was. End of September, the very end of September, basically. So within that time, even just in the last 6 months, I did 8 weeks of every weekend away with Harlott. We've got to try and keep our lives as normal as possible for Bettie, our little girl, because it affects them more than us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got hit with a bombshell about 3 weeks ago that we had to move. Our unit was being sold from underneath us, so we had 60 days. So we're like, well, fuck it, we might as well just, dig in, put the shop to the side for a few days, find a place. I think Eliza looked at maybe 10 or 12 places in 6 days, got approved for 2 or 3, picked the best one, moved yesterday. So now we can kind of focus, that's done. Next,
okay.
$4.5 $5 later to move in the same suburb or whatever it was, back on topic kind of thing.
Yep.
Betty starts primary school in 3 or 4 months, so we've had to enroll her in schools at the same time. And I'm really excitable as well. So I'll have like 4 or 5 major ideas in my head at the same time. So at night when Betty's gone to sleep, and Eliza will trying to get my attention with X idea on my phone, I'll be like, email Metal Blade, do this idea. Someone text me with this, and I don't stop. And no wonder Betty doesn't nap or anything anymore. It's just somehow we've held it together so far. So
that's crazy. So actually, I'll talk about sort of the concept and the idea in a tick. But you mentioned before about tomorrow potentially being the day that you tell your employer that's it, I'm out, and giving you notice. Are you packing it?
I surprisingly, I'm not.
You're feeling pretty good?
I think it's, like I was mentioning earlier, Eliza and I kind of went over the financial side of it. And look, her and I are very much a team. All our finances and stuff are together. We, either she handles it or we talk about it together. And for the most part, if I can look at her and she says, yep, that's going to be cool, I'll go, yeah. And she'll go, yep. And I'll be like, cool. And then I won't have any, she'll probably wear that burden, I guess.
Yeah.
But I tend to just be able to be aloof, I guess, from there on out. So it's really strange. I don't like, as much as it's like, I'm going to quit my job and tell the man where to shove it. I don't like letting people down. Over the last couple of weeks, I haven't wanted to, even though we've been busy, I haven't wanted to, say, call in sick, because there's a roll-on effect that's going to affect, my friends at work. So it's much to my detriment, instead of just going, well, I'm not going to go to work today and I'm just going to have a day to concentrate on this or nothing. I'll be like, no, I'm going to have to get up at 10 to 5 and still get the train into the city and do my job and somehow do everything around that instead. So thus far I'm not.
Yeah.
but we'll see tomorrow, I guess.
I guess if well, yeah, in the moment when it all happens, I'm sure there'll be a little bit of nerves kicking in, going, oh my god, this is becoming real.
That's right.
If it's not already real already.
Yeah.
But I guess from what you just said, it's been X amount of months and whatnot in the works. So you've been leading up to this point, and it's inevitable that's going to happen. So it's love,
weird, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I love it. I love hearing when people go, "That's it. I made the plunge. I took the plunge. I made that decision, and I moved away from something that's perceived as reliable, secure income that comes in each week or each fortnight or each month or whatever it is, with whatever the additional benefits are of leave and super and all that stuff, to we're only going to make as much money as we put in."
Exactly. And it's a weird grey area to be in. Although I've been, in my later 20s at least, successful at work, and, kind of my resume's gotten better and have managed businesses and things like that, I've never been content.
Yeah.
And Liza will probably say I haven't been content for 10 years, because that's, her and I have been together for 10 years. And it's really weird, even though, I have no problem with, the staff that I work with. Some I become friends with out of work, and a lot of the places are places I thrive in. I know the product or whatever it might be. I've never been content, and it's probably a cliche for everyone. Everyone has it, I guess, and just a few of us choose to go past it, I guess. But I've never wanted to be satisfied working for somebody else. The thing I always go back to, when we lived in Orange and I worked at a business, which was great. I got along there. I did really well. The guy I replaced had retired and trained me up for the last 2 weeks, to kind of take his seat, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he worked at that place for like 27 years. I think I was 27 at the time, so it was relevant. And he had driven down, and the building had been in the same spot. So he'd driven down the same street to the same desk, married to the same wife, which is fine, but made the same sandwiches and sat in that same
routine
seat, for 27 years. So, some people that's totally fine, and they want that. They thrive for that. And again, much to my detriment, I think I've always kind of been somewhere else while that was a goal, because, you've got to provide, you've got a wife and a family and rent to pay for and all that kind of stuff. I could never get comfortable in that idea.
Yeah.
So I was always like, this job's really good, but 8 months later, I need to find a new job because I'm bored.
Yeah.
Or, whatever it might be, whatever the result might be.
Do you find that, just saying about never being sort of satisfied, is it a case like, and I have a similar thing where I'm always looking ahead. I'm always looking at something that's in the future.
That's right.
And not quite living in the moment.
Totally.
And it's the whole enjoy the process, enjoy the journey along the way.
Yeah.
And it's only in hindsight that you sort of look back and go, oh man, I really missed that time, blah, blah. And you think, well, that's the time when I was really frustrated and I was looking for something more.
Absolutely.
And when you get there and you achieve whatever you're seeking and you're striving for and you've got the hunger for, you get there and it's like, oh, is that it? Or by that stage, you've already got the next thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you're just constantly are you sort of like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the only area of my life that has kind of slowed Eliza and I both down, because she's the same, she's self-employed, luckily enough, is probably having a kid. Because if you think too far ahead, before you know it, they're 5, which she is in 3.5 weeks, and it's gone. And they're in primary school, and then they're gone for 5 days.
I was going to say, like, 5 years. I remember when you had a kid, I'm like,
it's insane, man. Yeah. I think I met you, and I couldn't even grow a mustache. But yeah, that's probably if not the only area of our life, it's the main thing that has made us kind of take stock and slow down a little bit. But with that said, again, we moved here on a whim because we knew we wanted to come back here. And I think, in the last 12 months, I've probably had 3 or 4 good jobs. They've all been good and, have paid good money and had cars and all that kind of stuff. But again, there was always just something else. The band was a big part of keeping me grounded, I guess. So once I got that, I was like, great, that's that part sorted.
Yeah.
Now what are we going to do? We know that buying of the house thing will come. We want to do that because we're sick of moving, but it will come.
Yeah.
So the business has got our priority for now, and we'll go from there, I guess.
Put the plan in place and sort of think. You've always got to think long term, and it's good to aim for things that are in the future and work towards it. And I think it's a balance between enjoying and taking satisfaction in the day-to-day journey and the struggle and the challenges along the way and the hiccups and whatever, because they're the moments that are character building. They're the things that make you grow and you learn and you become better people and whatnot. But it's one thing that I'm always trying to improve on, but I fucking suck at it because I'm always thinking ahead, and it's only in that sort of retrospective sort of approach where I look back in hindsight and go, oh yeah, they were really good times.
Yeah.
But at the time I'm like,
this is the worst time of my life.
Or blurred sort of vision or whatever. I mean, I always say to Jess, because she wasn't around then, but like when I first moved to Sydney, and I was living with, I don't know, did you ever meet Gordo? Yeah, you would have met.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, and I was living with him for a little bit when I first moved to Newtown. This is like whenever, I don't know, 10 plus years ago. Yeah. And you know, just getting drunk and like on a Sunday night, just getting absolutely wasted. And I remember actually, there was a guy, Cameron McKenzie, who was putting on, so Cam was putting on heaps of shows, and there was Disgorge, and they did a Harbour Cruise gig on a Sunday afternoon.
God.
And it was, I think you paid whatever it was to get on the boat. I'm going off on a tangent, but it's going to come back, trust me.
Yeah.
And you paid, and once you were on, then you could just drink whatever you want. I could be wrong, but anyway, I drank a lot. And then we went back to Cam's place.
It always seemed like you could drink whatever you wanted.
It felt like it anyway, free spirit.
Yeah.
But got back to Cam's place, and it was a Sunday night, and I remember I had to work the next day, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, midnight, or whatever it was. And I remember I bought like a few bottles of wine, and because I was just a tight ass, had no money. And so I just smashed these bottles of wine. I was just wasted. And then fast forward, and the next thing, I'm on a bus in Marrickville heading towards the city to my desk job.
The 423 or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm hanging, I'm like, it's packed, and I'm hanging onto the thing in the middle of the aisle, trying to stand up, and I'm like, I've got alcohol seeping out of my pores and my arms. I'm sweating already, and just like death warmed up, and I'm just going, this is the worst thing in the world. And for the first like 6 months of living in Sydney, that was my life.
Totally.
Hungover, smelling like shit all the time.
You question how you went to work the way you did.
Yeah, and like I came down for Lord and did all that sort of stuff, but a lot of the time, like day to day, I was miserable. I was a sack of shit, like just going, oh, this sucks, blah blah blah, you know, or I can't believe I've done it again.
Yeah. When will you learn, you idiot?
But in hindsight, now I think it's great because they're stories, and and I could never get away with doing that now for various reasons.
It'd take me like 4 days to get over it.
Oh man, I have like 4 beers and I'm screwed for like 3 days.
Yeah,
now. But it's that journey, and sometimes it's hard to be in the moment at that time and go, man, I'm so fucking alcohol sick at the moment, but life's amazing. But it's a difficult thing to do, and obviously that's an example that's not quite the same as the grind of building a business.
Yeah, I know.
It's the same thing of living in the moment, trying to forge something, but you're always looking ahead to hopefully reach some sort of goal.
Yeah, it's just that there's got to be more to it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, for me, it was always I got to find a job that's earning more money. The band's got to do this.
Totally.
And in the meantime, I'm just going to eat shit, as Gary Vanish, I could say, in my 20s.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're listening.
On a day-to-day basis. And I was just hating life. But now I look back and I go, oh, man, I really miss I miss it.
It was so easy.
Yeah.
Really, in hindsight, it was...
Yep.
It was, you know, Liza and I, when we lived in Sydney as well, we lived in Dulwich Hill for the most part.
Yep.
And it was the same thing, you know, I was just like living off cartons of Strongbow. We had like, relatively easy jobs that paid well. It was just us.
Yep.
Sydney rent was somewhat affordable, you know, 10 years ago. Eliza was booking the Stag at the time, so we were there like 5 nights a week.
I remember that. It
was just easier, I guess.
I remember you guys made that controversial move where you started doing the door at the front of the bar, like when you walked in, and all the locals were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm going to pay to get in to drink a beer. And it's like, well, it's the venue, so you got to pay to get in. Yeah. I remember that.
Still had a few sold out nights. It was good.
Oh, I think you guys did reasonably well while you were there. Can you remember the first time we met?
I 100% can.
Yeah?
Yep.
Let's see if it's the same story or the same place.
Yeah.
Because it could be two completely different places.
I'm assuming it was 2005 and it was the last dungeon show at the Gaelic Club.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
That's correct. It's a bit blurry.
I can't remember what that street is called that the Gaelic Club used to be on.
Devonshire.
Devonshire. That was a long time ago. It was 12 years ago.
Yep.
2005 or 2004?
2005.
December 2005. It was,
Yep.
yeah.
And was
Maybe
it upstairs?
I think it was just the main
or
room.
just somewhere?
No, I think we met outside.
Yeah,
I think it was Transcending Mortality and Dungeon maybe for the last... It was their
yeah,
last
there was
gig.
a few bands that played.
Yeah.
But yeah, TM played. And, oh man, I was so blind. I just remember that gig...
MySpace days.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, now it's becoming ancient.
Yeah.
I remember... Oh, fuck. I remember being there and being so fucking wasted. And after the show, they did a little signing thing upstairs because there was a bunch of... They had leftover dungeon posters, which I've still got at home.
Quick side note.
Yeah.
I got a dungeon poster. It was of the cover of...
Resurrection?
No, it was the cover of...
Rise to Power.
Yes, Rise to Power.
Yep.
And it's like A3.
Yeah, I've still got a few.
Fully signed by the band.
Yeah.
And my brother got it framed for me.
Oh, mad.
And I've still got it.
Oh, really?
So, you know...
Fuck, you got to take a photo of that.
Yeah, I will,
That's it, yeah. I've still got a few of them sitting at home. Just anyway, that's a side note. But I remember being upstairs and the guys were signing some stuff for people, whatever. And I was standing around just drinking. I was just drunk as fuck. And someone said to Tim, "Oh, what are you doing now, man?" And he's like, "Oh, I've got Lloyd happening." And he's like, "Oh, yeah." And then he's like, "Oh, and by the way, that's our bass player right there." And points at me. And I'm like, 20 years old, just like this drunk fuck. And I'm sure Tim's probably gone, "Oh, I didn't realise he was that pissed. I shouldn't have pointed him out." But yes, 05 was the first time. I think the moment or the time that sits in my mind a little bit more is it was a few years later. I'm sure we probably crossed paths a bunch of times since then, but you were doing merch for Toto.
Yeah, the Enmore.
Yes.
Dream Band.
Yeah. And I remember seeing you there and we were having a chat
2009, I think that was.
there. Yeah, 8 or 9 or something like that. Yeah.
Maybe 8, yeah.
And it was Dave Balfour and myself, and we were at the Duke, and we didn't have tickets. And then and we were just going to drink there, and we couldn't afford to go for whatever reason. We were bummed out about it, but we thought we're just going to sit next door and just mope and get wasted. And then some guy came in going, "Anyone want some tickets? So I'll just do 2 for the same for one or whatever." And so we're like, "Oh fuck it, let's go."
Damn right.
Yeah, split halves, and so we came in and watched the show. But I remember having a chat to you, and you were doing merch then. So you must have been. Were you doing stuff for Frontier?
Lizzie and I did merch for a few different companies. I think it was just like a third party company that the touring mob would hire, I guess.
Yep.
I think they're called Mammoth at the time. They used to be in Alexandria. I don't know if they even exist anymore. But we did quite a few. Toto was probably the standout for me, obviously.
Fuck yeah.
Because it's Toto.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
We've got a mutual love for Toto.
Yeah, Toto. God, let's talk about Toto. But we did Porcupine Tree twice, which is really nice because you're there for sound check and you meet the guys. And I'll get back to Toto in a sec. But we did Slayer and Megadeth tour in 2009 or 10 or so, whatever it was, a few years ago.
Yep.
In Sydney, Slayer did a sideshow, classic lineup at Luna Park, and they played Rain and Blood start to finish.
Oh, yeah, I missed that.
Lizzie and I did merch for that. So I got to be there for soundcheck, classic lineup with Hanneman, Lombardo, and then they played Rain and Blood. So that was quite a, thrash homecoming moment. Back to Toto though. So when you do merch for these kind of big companies, you don't know who's hired you. You never meet them. It's not like job interview. I don't know how Eliza.
You get a contract. Well, not even a contract. You just go. Are you available?
They didn't even know I existed. They'd hire Eliza. They knew her name, mobile number, and email, and we'd go and do the merch, and then bank the cash. The next business day, basically, if it was a Monday after a weekend or whatever. So after Toto, we've taken everything down. Everyone's left.
How much did they make?
The only one I really remember is, do you remember that one-hit wonder band Hinder? They did that Lips of an Angel song. We did those guys at Luna Park.
Yeah.
Big Top. So it was just dads and 14-year-old girls. And in my backpack, I took home $24,000.
Wow.
They don't know me from Vira Soap, the company. So I take that home, we count it, bathe in it like Scarface, and then cash it. So we're at Toto at the Enmore, and it was a killer gig. The show was amazing. Everyone's gone. The soundies are breaking everything down and, loading all the gear out. And John Howarth, who had Alliance touring, I think it was at the time when Riot was still around. And I think this might have been the first time I met him, actually. Yeah. Came over, or I vaguely knew him from the scene, and said, John, mate, what are the chances? I've got to ask, can I come meet Toto? Eliza is probably 10 feet behind me on her hands and knees packing and counting shirts and stuff. He's like, sure, they're in the bar, let's go. And I don't know I think I was probably just married, but stupidly didn't think twice. And I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And just bailed and didn't say anything to Eliza. So I've gone into the front bar and, met Bobby Kimball and had a big hug from Steve Lukather. And I'm sure, sorry Luke, but I'm pretty sure he was like coked out of his mind.
Well, I heard, just on a side note, that the guys from INXS rocked up for that show.
Yep.
And I can't remember who told me this. I don't know. But anyway, we'll just say it's a potential myth. We won't say it actually happened, but apparently a couple of the guys from INXS rocked up. They knew Lukather, and they brought a few bottles or something, and they just got smashed before, because I remember the show. And the show was really, really good. But Bobby Kimball kept walking off stage like every 5 minutes or whatever. And there was these extended jams just went on for ages. And then Luke
got up to Bobby's not there. Yeah. Keep jamming, boys.
And then I remember Steve just kept going yeah. And we're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it was really cool, but it was just like this sort of loose sort of improv jam thing that just the extended versions of everything, and it was like, okay, there's something going on here.
Yeah, this is good, but
I don't think it was long after that Steve,
he's clean now.
Yeah, well, he turned around and said, I'm off, like I'm completely straight now. I'm not drinking anymore.
Read an interview after maybe 2 or 3 years after that tour that he kind of got to a point where his marriage had shit itself. Kind of found himself on stage one night, probably loaded or wasted, and looked around and he was like, none of my brothers are here anymore.
Yeah.
David Page had retired from touring. Yeah. Steve Porcaro had retired from touring. Yep. Simon Phillips had been there for, 25 years or something like that, but he was still kind of a ring in. So he was just like, and that's when Toto stopped for a few years and he got clean, and I think he may have remarried and stuff like that. And since then, David Page and Steve Porcaro and all those kind of guys have come back. Joseph Williams.
That's it. And Lucas is a monster in general anyway, but like since he's cleaned himself up, the guy's just fucking non-stop, like just constantly putting stuff out and touring, and we follow each other on Twitter, and I laugh because like I see you replying to something that Lukather writes, and then Lukather responds, and you're like, yeah,
and it'll be like, screenshot sent to all my friends who don't care.
And I think that's it. All your thrash buddies are like, Toto, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I think I might have done one thing, and he liked one of my things. I'm like, oh man, that's so cool.
I know, right?
He acknowledged my existence. I'm a real person in his world. That's so cool.
Oh man.
But
it's sad.
Yeah,
I look forward to it though.
That's it. I mean, and okay, so you got to meet them. Steve was a bit loose.
Yeah, big hug, and I remember how I was like, "Hey man, my name's Jake." I was probably 21, maybe 22. Shook my hand, and as I was like, "I did the merch," he like pulled me in, and it was like, "Thanks so much for doing the merch, man. That's amazing." Into my ear, and I'll never forget it. Hey. Because it was like Greg Philippines, I think you pronounced his name, the keyboardist who played on like Thriller and everything in the 70s and 80s, man. Like every Quincy Jones album.
Session musician, fucking utopia right there.
So it was him, like Lee Schuyler, the bass player, Phil Collins and stuff, Bobby Kimball and like Lukather. And then it was just kind of like, it was like door just like in my face. And I went back out to Liza and I was like, oh my God, Toto! I'm going to sell everything. Yeah, and she was just like, thanks. Still, that's like, what is it now, 2017, so like 8 or 9 years later or whenever they toured, still never let me down.
Well,
so we did a couple of big shows. I think she did like U2 and
really?
She did a few big shows, but together we did Porcupine Tree twice, Slayer. Hey, there's a band playing. Look out, sound check maybe? I don't know. Toto, Slayer, Porcupine Tree, lots of stuff. I did you guys at Iced Earth down here.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's right.
I
Yeah.
don't know what year that was, 2012 maybe or something.
Yep. On the money. 2012, the Billboard. Now 107 or whatever the fuck it's called.
170 Russell, I think.
Yeah.
And it was cool though, because you'd get, a couple $100 or whatever it was, and probably meet the band. I usually take a free shirt because I'm counting it anyway.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
Count one less, I guess. Disclaimer. Whatever.
Well, I was talking to Cindy yesterday. I was going to say spoiler alert, but no, he would have been out before this episode's put out anyway. We're talking about venues that take cuts out of merch.
The M-War did, 10%.
Yep. And I think Billboard did that. Because I think that particular one... Actually, no, I won't go into that one.
Depending on who it was for, maybe don't. But depending on who it was for, I would be like, they only made this much. If you get what I'm putting down.
Yeah. I just think it's bullshit. And Cindy said it yesterday. He goes,
man, they're getting the whole bar.
Well, yeah, and the argument was that...
And whatever the insurance and stuff, they're,
Are you covering the costs of, all of the backline, all of the hiring of people that are in here or whatever? Are you taking your 10 or 15, 20% off all of that, as well as the 20% off the merch that's coming in?
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck off. And that's a massive thing. And I think we're going to see more of it. But it's a massive thing in the States, I know. I think there's parts of Europe that do it and have that sort of merchandise cut. But it's one of those... It might end up being a necessary evil that most venues will end up picking up.
I'd say venues will probably follow the same route as labels, I guess, like with the 360 deals, taking cuts of merch, even though they had nothing to do with it. Things like that. I don't think gigs have lost their appeal, though.
Nah.
Side note with the whole downloading thing and stuff like that. So I don't see why you need to take a 10% cut of the shirt that I've sold.
I just think, okay, you pay venue hire to play a show. Okay, fair enough. If you really wanted to be cheeky, instead of doing a cut, which I think just capitalising on someone trying to make some extra money, I mean, you could do it like a market store where you pay a set fee.
That's right.
And that's it. So, so we've got an allocation, we've got an area that's got power, it's actually lit up, it's actually got the things that you need.
It's not just
actually
got under the stairwell.
Yeah, there's actually tables, there's actually like facilities that are set up for merchandise, and we charge an additional blah 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 set fee to sell merch.
Yep.
And I think that would be more reasonable.
Yes. So, hey, you guys want to sell merch tonight? $100.
Yeah, whatever.
Instead of, you sold $22,000 worth of merch tonight?
Yeah, we want to cut it.
$2,200.
Fuck
Thanks.
off.
Yeah, no,
bullshit. Yeah, that's it.
Side note, I remember one night that I did by myself for merch was at the Big Top again at Luna Park, and it was a rap group called the Outlaws.
Okay.
Who were the backup entourage, I guess, for Tupac. While he was
really?
Still alive. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he would, I guess, go on tour or whatever they did then. Did Tupac tour? I don't know.
Yeah.
And this was his entourage that would usually be with him on stage doing the rap. They'd probably be the guys doing maybe a little verse in between or those kind of things. So they came out.
Wow.
And this is pre-hologram technology, I guess. So it was, they'd have like audio. This is at Luna Park, so it's like, 4,500, 5,000 people maybe or something like that. Curtained off, ticket sales were bad. And they were having just like audio of Tupac, and then in between they'd be like, "Yeah, sing it, Pac." Whoa, like
this audio track kicked in.
Tupac audio track a kick in over the PA at Luna Park.
Whoa.
But pre to the gig, when I was setting up the merch with this, little nondescript white girl who I was doing the merch with for the night, and surrounded by this huge entourage of American guys. Yeah. It was like, hey man, I know that the venue's probably going to take a cut. I've got some CDs. If you could just sell these kind of on the side, and I'll come back and I'll collect the cash later in the night. I was like, yeah, okay, maybe we'll see. But it gets confusing, if somebody's coming and they're handing cash, I want one of those, and you've got
the CD as well.
It's like, whatever, here's the change, and I'll just, So at the end of the night, this guy comes up and he's like, hey man, where's, the cash for these? And I was like, dude, it's just too hard, man.
Yeah.
I've got, I think it might have been this. He was like, what do you mean? And just kind of got a little bit like, dude, I'm not, this isn't like Bloods versus Crips here. So I gave him the cash and he was pissed. And I was to the chick, I was like, we need to get the fuck out of here. The dude was not having it. I took a hat. whatever. Tales of the Merch Guy.
The Outlaws, there you go. All right, so we went off on a tangent. I want to go back because, okay, there's two main things. So, actually, hang on. I'm all out of the shop because I've just had 2 pints. But going back, I want to know, so Bettie's is the business.
Yep.
In a few weeks, it's going to be open. I want to know, and I asked you about sort of tomorrow and that decision of putting in your resignation and whatnot. But going back a little bit, was there a moment where it was a light bulb where it's like, we need to create a business? Was there something where you're walking past a place and you're like, you know what, I think maybe we could just open a cafe? Or
I think initially, Eliza has probably had the idea probably even before my time, I guess.
Yep.
Well, the time that must have sucked before me, right?
Yeah.
Because both of her parents are self-employed.
Yep.
Her father is a screenwriter and wrote for Playboy and went on tour with Jerry Lee Lewis and so endless cool stories, podcast of stories later on.
All right.
He lives in the Blue Mountains. Go talk to Liza's dad.
Okay, I'll take notes.
And her mother was like a pretty big designer in the 80s and 90s and things like that.
Okay.
So she had always, grew up around it. So they had their offices at home and would work and eat lunch and function at home, I guess. And so she wasn't used to the 9 to 5, the normal grind, I guess. So she's probably always had that more so than me, where I came from a little bit more of a blue collar. My old man, up until retirement, only a few months ago, worked for the same company my entire life, grassroots entry level up to CEO in Canada, like really through the whole ranks kind of thing. So it was a bit of I was just expected to be like, oh, great, I'm going to have to, work,
that's what it looks
work
like.
here for 70 years, So I probably got more enthused by her wanting to do her own thing. She was constantly setting up her own little businesses.
So that vision was already in her head.
Absolutely, yeah. There might not have been an end goal of cafe or whatever the business was going to be, but it was always in her to be, this is what my parents did, I know I can do it, self-belief and all that kind of stuff. So there'd been a few times when we lived in New South Wales that it'd be like, this vacant building here on a cool main drag or just off the beaten path could be good for X, and we'd looked at it a few times. I can't remember if we did in Sydney, possibly, definitely when we lived back in Orange when Bettie was younger. We looked at bar options and other bits and pieces and things that we were interested in that we thought might work in that little area or community or whatever. And for whatever reason, financially, Bettie was younger, so it was more of a full-time thing before she was a little bit more independent. It was harder, I guess, so it often got pushed aside.
Yep.
And then when we moved down here, this little corner shop that was on the corner of the street we were living at the time, just kind of the idea blossomed out of nowhere. I truly can't even remember, even though it's only in the last 4 or 5 months, who had the idea, whether it was Eliza, myself, or her mum. The Felice sign went up and we're like, oh, that'd be, collectively it was kind of like, that'd be cool. Yeah. Great area. You kind of do the math in your head of what's around and the foot traffic and things like that. Before you know it, you're speaking to the owner and the real estate's kind of pushed aside and you're dealing straight with the guy who owns it. And it really just kind of spiraled out of my control from there, I guess.
It's sort of like the point of no return. The momentum kicks in and it's like, oh shit, like now
what have I done?
We've just got to keep going.
Yeah, that's right. It really was. And as much as it was the great unknown, I guess, it's kind of exciting as well, because we'll still have those moments to be like, fuck, what are we doing? Like, do these people not know that we have no idea what the hell we are doing? These people that are asking me questions, I'll be like, fuck, dude, I don't know. But we're surviving, like nothing is, I don't feel like we've, paid for anything. It's, nobody's pulled the wool over my eyes or, we haven't made any overly stupid business decisions thus far that I feel anyway. It's just kind of happened naturally and it's worked out so far. So Liza and I very much believe in the universe, I guess. No, we're not spiritual or anything like that. We never, weren't raised that way. But we have both kind of naturally come to the same conclusion that if something is meant to happen, it will. Yeah. The universe, quote unquote, will open the door, I guess. We've had times, maybe past business ventures that we've attempted or whatever, where you'll come up to a bit of a roadblock or a closed door and you shouldn't push too hard on those things. We find that if it's meant to be, it will be. Otherwise, it's going to tell you to stop for a reason, I guess. And this one has just been like floodgates have opened and everything. We've just kind of flowed down river with it, I guess.
That's awesome. So I mean, so obviously it's just there's a very vague concept in the back of the mind, and then obviously there's a visual, there's an opportunity there, and then everything starts to fall into place.
Yep.
Now, I've seen pictures of the place as it's progressed and as you're fitting it out and whatnot, and it's got a certain look, and then I've heard what you've said, what you think it's going to be as well.
Yep.
I mean, it's a cafe.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And
what's the distinct part of the cafe? Like what's the I'm just trying to think of a better word.
I think
vibe, bro.
Yeah.
Like what's the
tag? So I think Lizzie and I are both, for the most part, like she was born in the Blue Mountains and I was born in the Hunter Valley. So we're kind of both country born and raised, I guess. At least, in the 80s it was still the country before the city sprawled out that far. We want to, we very much strongly believe in like strong, like hospitality service, I guess. Some places we've found down here, they can be a little bit too cool for school, I guess. And this probably goes for anywhere that's metropolitan now. Sometimes it feels like you're interrupting a conversation or, you're basically interrupting them, or it's some places are a little clinical, they're a bit too clean and things like that. So we want, the places that I'll go out of my way to go to are someone that's, don't always expect it, but remembers my name. Remembers my order. You can kind of pick up a conversation with that you may have had a week or two ago. Or you can just talk shit with. Those kind of, I don't want to say it, but like country mentality, I guess, because I find that it's lost a lot in the city. I guess because we are all so busy. We very much hold that as one of our values, I guess. So regardless of what the colour scheme might be or how we design the interior of the shop, which is very much our personality. You go into our apartment and it's going to look the same as our shop. It's bright colours, it's vibrant, it's different eclectic knick-knacky kind of things. That's our main goal, and we've said that to all of our, pardon me, that's the beer speaking, all of our staff that might be coming on, or anyone that might poke their head in during the refurb side of things, asking what we're doing. That'll be the first thing, the front foot is that hospitality, I guess.
That's cool.
Friendliness. I guess, we're both extroverts, probably me more than Eliza, so we like to talk. We want to engage and have like a community vibe, even though we, live around 6.5 million people or whatever Melbourne's population is now.
I think that's exciting. Because that you're in the midst of the city, but you've got these little communities around the area. Like you're not starved of population, so you can make the most of just the immediate streets around your area, and that's enough to supplement.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that really early on when we were looking at the lease, there's a little cafe, maybe 2 suburbs over, and the suburbs can be pretty small this side of the city, in Fairfield, called Thompson's. It's on the street Thompson's, so that's what they've called it. And that's kind of the same vibe. We went in there and like, this is really nice. They remember us when we come in, and we're nobodies. We're not there every day or anything like that, but they'll remember, and they'll remember, hey, you guys were looking at the cafe or whatever it might be, but they've got that vibe. And you were saying off community, and they totally off the beaten path. They're nowhere near main drags. They're not near a school, and they completely rely on their community and the streets around it, and they survive. So, even though we are on main drags and things like that, that's kind of the feel that we want as well.
You don't have to worry about that scaling up thing as far as I need like X amount of thousands of people to be, to even know that we exist. Let alone anything else. I mean, really, in the end, you only need X amount of people coming in per day to buy whatever it is that you're selling.
It depends what you're after as well. Like that cafe in question, without giving all their business secrets away, I think they had sent to us early on when we were kind of prying all cafes, and everyone's been really nice and giving us information, to let us in, I guess. They were, they need, say, 80 coffees a day to survive. And that is just off their little community around. And then there's one that's 2 blocks closer towards Northcote, and some Saturdays they'll do 500 coffees. So it's all relative, I guess, as to what you want to get. and what you want to put into it to get out of it, etc., etc.
That's it. That comes to a bigger picture, like lifestyle choice and what you need and what you want, and if you're looking at, well, even just to keep afloat, if you're thinking bare minimum, if it's like using that sort of measure of 80 coffees a day or whatever it is, then if you can smash that, then anything on top of that's cream.
Exactly
on top,
right. It's a bonus.
It's great. I think I've seen you mention this a few times, and I'm going to put you on the spot 'cause maybe it's changed, but are you still planning to play Judas Priest in the cafe?
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, great.
Without a doubt. I've got the stereo set up ready to rock and roll. Look, I think there's a friendly agreement between my wife and I. She likes metal. That's fine. I don't know if you could be married to a metal guy without having somewhat of an appreciation for metal. There's a fine balance, though. Both of us had very good upbringings.
Yep.
As I said, her dad was a screenwriter and toured for Playboy, going on tour with the Highwaymen and Johnny Cash and all that kind of cool stuff.
Yep.
He owned a label, Bon Scott's first record label in Adelaide. Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Telling you, man. Podcast
Okay.
with Dennis Whitburn and Katoomba.
Okay.
Anyway, so we both got a really good, and I had a good upbringing with my parents. It was just the time, I guess, late 70s and 80s and stuff like that. So there's just an unspoken agreement, I guess. And I know my bounds.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put anything too silly on.
No,
but there's a pretty good chance you'll walk in one day and you might hear some heads are going to roll or something like that.
Nice. I love it.
Sia might come on right after it, but that's fine.
Hey,
it's all
that's
about
it.
balance.
It's balance.
Exactly.
Absolutely. That's the key word, balance. And that's a great marriage. So there you go. Your marriage is translating into the business.
That's right.
Yeah, perfect.
It's our marriage through song.
I love it. You'll cater for so many people in the area. Okay, so I'm keeping an eye on the time, but I want to talk a bit about Harlott as well. So how long have you been in the band now? A few months?
Not a huge amount of time. February, I think, officially.
Yeah, okay.
This year. Let's say this year.
So
The story started in December.
Yeah. Just planting the seeds, working it out.
I had, Eliza and I and Betty had moved down, I think, late September 2016. I had kind of no intention of ever, or at least not yet, joining a full-time band, quote-unquote, or anything like that. But knew that one of the reasons for us to come down here, amongst many things, was for me to play more. Just because there's more opportunities. It's
Melbourne.
It's inevitable. So I happened to go to last year's Bodies on Bodies at the Bendigo. And Harlott had already announced that Ryan, who is a killer guitarist, was leaving, and that was going to be his last show. But I was going to go anyway. It was a great lineup. Yep. It's all thrash stuff, which is, I guess, right up my alley. And I'd seen the posts and things like that of the band, saying, sending them videos, etc., etc. And I was just, as much as I was like, oh, that'd be fucking perfect, and I'd messaged Chris Melko from Orpheus Omega because he recorded them. I was like, hey, if they ask, maybe mention me.
Throw my name in.
But outside of that, I hadn't done anything about it. Probably out of fear and laziness and self-doubt and, all those kind of things that go through your mind. And I'd not long moved down here and whatever else. Went to Bodies on Bodies. Ran into Riley from Desecrator earlier in the night, who I'd known for a little bit of time before we moved back down. And I said, hey, if you speak to the guys, let them know I'm here. But, outside of that, nothing crazy, I guess. And got a message from Andrew, the singer and other guitarist, just before, literally as I was about to walk out the door.
Previous guest on the podcast, by the way. Episode 20-something. Anyway,
look it up.
Segue.
And got a message from me on Facebook, literally as I was about to walk out the door, saying, hey, a heap of people had said that I should probably speak to you before you go. I'd friends with them on Facebook, but you're friends with so many people on Facebook within this community, and you never meet them. Should probably have a chat to you before you go. It's like, good timing. Walked to the bar. It was just him and Riley from Desecrator, and we just had a quick chat. And even at that time, I was like, yeah, cool, man. Kind of hard to get. I'm definitely keen to play some riffs. But look, at this stage, I've got a wife and kid, not really looking for anything crazy. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. We'll keep in touch. Maybe a week or two later, I got a message from him saying, hey, how quickly do you think you could learn a set? And I think my message back to him was, you sound like a man who has a gig with no guitarist. And it was... Revocation were out with Violator's Murder, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
And there was Harlott, Desecrator, and Revocation at the Bendigo.
Yep.
So I learned up some songs, and even then, I was still like, yeah, I'm totally down. I mean, I'll play any gig you need me to play until you find the
Whoever
guy.
it's going to be. Yeah.
You know, whatever bedroom shredder is just going to nail it, and you guys can just take out from there. And I think I jammed with him once and got home and said to Eliza, fuck! I need to join that band. God damn it! This is like, it was just, I couldn't deny it, man.
Yeah. Just everything gelled.
It was really perfect without like blowing smoke up their asses too much. All of us, you know, we all get along really well.
Yeah.
We're all like similar age, similar interests. Yeah, it was, you know, horrible sense of humor. It just, for me at least,
a good fit.
Yeah, it felt really good,
cool.
and it was kind of everything I'd always been after, I guess.
Yeah.
Without getting too sappy.
Well, I mean, I've watched from afar, watching you doing various things along the way of, you know, doing your own sort of solo stuff and recording things and whatever, and you've been a part of bands in the past and whatever, and I think you may have even mentioned to me, or maybe Mark told me, I can't remember, either or, maybe both, and you were talking, it was at that point where you mustn't have jammed with them yet, but you were talking about potentially filling in, like doing some stuff, like it's on the low down, but this is what I'm like, oh, this is really cool, like see what happens from there. And then like a few months later or whatever it was like you're officially in the band, and I remember like messaging Mark going, oh fuck, what the fuck happened there? Like, I thought he said he was filling in. Well, that's what he told me. I'm like, oh wow,
filling
okay,
in full time. Yeah.
But it's cool. Like, and
it is.
And what a fucking time to join that band.
Oh,
I mean,
man,
they're on Metal Blade.
Yeah.
And
if anything for them, it's well, for us, I guess I could say that now. It's really the sky's the limit, I guess. So, you know, new album at some stage.
Yep.
Again, as I was saying, 20 minutes ago or whatever it was, I'm really excitable. So if anyone says to me, even in passing at band practice or in a text or whatever, be like, oh, it'd be cool to get back to Europe, or maybe one day we should think about doing something, I'll be like, fuck yeah, and then spend the next 3 days doing nothing but that. And literally I'm doing that now.
I was going to say, are you on their social media account?
Yes,
yeah, because I was going to say, was that you on Twitter going, North America or Europe?
They don't even, like, the guys don't even know, and that's fine. They're happy for me to do that, but there's so many wheelings and dealings just because that's like how I like keeping my time filled, I guess. So next year it'll be we've put our hat in the ring for a heap of the stereotypical Euro festivals. If they don't come through, there's a US thing that I'm looking at, but it's cool, man. I think it was you're
going to have a crazy 2018.
I'd hope so,
amongst family business, playing in a thrash band, world domination. It's nice. Usual sort of stuff.
Liza and I, as much as we like when it's around, the busyness, we're like, oh, what are we doing? We kind of thrive in it. We wouldn't really have it any other way. As soon as it starts to die down a little bit, one of us will get itchy feet, and we'll either we'll start to either hate the unit we're in, or maybe we should move cities or change job. Both of us are really we're gypsies basically. At least our souls are, maybe not house-wise all the time. Some of it's our hands have been forced, but we've always got something on the go.
I love it.
It's good.
I reckon that's a good way to end it. And I think we'll have to do a follow-up. What are we, October now? And your cafe's going to open in a few weeks, if everything goes to plan.
Knock on wood.
So I think maybe before the end of the year or early next year, we should do a little follow-up.
That sounds good to
me. See how
me.
things are tracking.
Melbourne summer holiday.
Oh, any excuse to get down here. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
No worries. Cheers. Thanks, folks. If you want to get a coffee, go to Bettie's Cafe. If you're in the inner suburbs of Melbourne, or you're travelling, or you're going to stop by, visit Melbourne in the days or weeks or months or years ahead, please make sure you reach out and see if they're open and drop in for a coffee or maybe a bite to eat, depending on whether they've got a bit of food on the menu or not. If you want to listen to Harlott, I'm going to have all the links to listen to their music, but also buy their music and merchandise and whatnot, and check out what they're up to. So everything will be in the show notes over at andysocial.net for this episode. So please go over there and check it out. And please reach out to Jake if you've got any questions about getting your own business started up. Jake's got heaps of great insights. He's learning as he goes. He's fresh to it. I mean, at the time of recording, the Bettie's wasn't even open, and at the time of putting this podcast out, I would assume that it probably will be open and running. So it's all new, and he's learning as he goes. So I think he's going to have a lot of great insights for people that are looking to turn an idea into reality and to turn into a business and something that's going to create some revenue, some income. So please reach out to Jake, and even just to let him know what you think, or if you're a Harlott fan, definitely reach out as well. So before I wrap this up, as always, the best ways to support this podcast is to go over to andysocial.net. You can use the Amazon portal link if you shop on Amazon. Click on that and shop on Amazon as per normal. I get a small cut of what you choose to spend on the Amazon website. That was a great explanation there. PayPal.me is there as well if you want to throw a couple of cents or a couple of dollars my way, or if you want to just give me your entire house deposit, just flick it through PayPal.me. It's easy. I'll love you long time. Really, really appreciate the generosity that people have been giving. You guys don't have to give me anything, but I put it up there so at least you guys have got an opportunity if you want to do something along those lines. But the fact that you're listening to me crap on is more than enough. That's the best gift that you can give. So thank you so much. And then the usual stuff, sharing these episodes around to different people. You might have someone out there who is on the verge of starting their own business, or is been umming and ahhing and a bit reluctant to dive into it. Maybe this is a good episode to pass on to them. Who knows? So sharing these episodes around, doing all the social media stuff means the world to me. It helps beat these crappy algorithms and pushes it through so more people can see it and more people tune into this podcast. And that's the best way. Those things mean the most to me. That it helps support the podcast. I get more listeners, and I'm a very happy chappy. That's fantastic. Before we wrap this up, I've recorded the last several intros and outros of this episode all in this stinking hot car at Berry Showgrounds. So for you guys that have been listening, in particular over the last few weeks, you may have heard a bit of consistency in these blabbering intros and outros, because I am sitting in this car and I've gone through so many takes to record these last several episodes. So I'm trying to smash these out just to alleviate or just free up a bit of extra time in the weeks to come, because I have a lot on my plate. So what I'm hoping and where I'm leading to is that I've mentioned this on, maybe it was the last episode, depending on the order of these coming out. But I have a new podcast that's coming out. It's called Self-Starter. I don't know whether it'll be out by the time this particular episode is out, but it will be selfstarter.com.au or selfstarter.net.au, I believe. So please go over to those links. If they're not working yet, don't stress. Just follow me on Facebook or on Instagram or on Twitter. Just search for Andy Dowling. You'll find me very easily, and I'll let you guys know when it's out. But more or less, it is a small business, self-employed, freelance themed podcast. Each week, I'm going to talk to various small business, self-employed people that are taking the plunge, or they have taken the plunge. They're either still in the idea stage, they're in the planning stage, they're about to launch, they have launched, they've been working and they've been functioning as a business for several years. Various stages in the cycle or in the life of being self-employed. And I really want to highlight not only these businesses to give them some exposure, but I want to really pick out a lot of the myths and the fears that people have when they make that decision to dive into it. Or sometimes people just never make that decision to even take that first step. So I really want to encourage more people to get into self-employment, try and turn some of these great ideas that I know a lot of you guys have into a reality, into something that earns money. So this is something that is a real passion of mine, and I've really found that this is something that I can build and create and make something really special of it. And I really want you guys to get behind it, especially if you've got an interest in it. So when it's out, if it's out, please hop over there, give it a listen, do the usual things over there. I'm not going to keep plugging that podcast. I might throw it in just as a quick side note every once in a while, but I thought I'd just spend a little bit of extra time explaining a bit about this. But I'm hoping that over time, in the weeks and months and years to come, that Self-Starter becomes one of the main podcasts in Australia that helps push people into the world of self-employment and really gives people that fulfillment of doing something on their own accord. not having to worry and stress about job security anymore, not having to worry about sitting in a cubicle or working for an employer and not being 100% happy with what they're doing and just doing it to work for the weekend or just to earn, enough money to survive or whatever it might be. I really want to give people the tools and the inspiration to take the plunge and create the lifestyle that they want. So it's not original, it's not new, it's not this crazy new concept that no one's ever heard of before, but this is going to be really grassroots. It's going to be the basics. It's going to be breaking everything down to really simple steps. I'm going to get some great people on. I've already had massive feedback and response from a lot of local businesses in the south coast of New South Wales, where I'm going to start the majority of my episodes at or with the business owners and self-employed people down the South Coast, and I'll extend it from there. So lots and lots of cool stuff. I'm going to leave it at that for now because I could keep crapping on. I'm really, really pumped about this, and I really hope that you guys will enjoy it as well. But when it's out, if it's not out already. So, okay, enough. Thank you very much. Self-starter. Go and check it out if it's out. If not, stay tuned. Follow me on all the social media platforms. And at the very least, thank you very much for listening to the Antisocial Podcast. And if you are listening right now, you crazy son of a bitch. That's what. Bye-bye.